should I put that I got laid off? Like, I feel like we take that as our ownership. Like, we did something wrong. Like, we didn't perform well. It's nothing to do with you. Man, they didn't tell me nothing. People are like, oh, I woke up to an email. Oh, we just got put into this meeting unexpectedly and there were hidden invites. HR is a little bit different in this situation. And it really hurts my heart when I see people bash HR and say, oh, HR did this to me, HR did that. I can promise you HR didn't make those decisions, honey. Like, hey y'all, this is Tamika, the face behind Heyyy HR, and we are going to talk all about how HR is involved with layoffs. I was super duper nervous to talk about this layoff topic because me myself, I still work in HR. It's a very touchy topic. There are a lot of layoffs going on in the tech industry, and I work in the tech industry, but I felt like with my 10 years of HR experience, I felt like I would be doing my community a disservice if I didn't give you some points that are just out there, just obvious amongst any type of layoff at all. So we went through a whole series and we've gone through about 4 or 5 videos. So we definitely started with the 2023 law updates video, and that kind of introduces you to the layoffs that's going on, because there are a lot of laws that manipulate how a layoff may happen, when it may happen, things like that. And then the next video we went into was all on layoff trends. What are some of the trends that we notice with layoffs? What are some of the trends that consistently happen with layoffs? So we definitely talked about that. And then we went into how to indicate layoff on your resume. So I've had people say to me, should I put that I got laid off? Like, I feel like we take that as our ownership. Like, we did something wrong. Like, we didn't perform well. It's nothing to do with you. As a matter of fact, I went into full detail of what I thought about you putting, or if you should put, that you've been laid off on your resume. And then we went into predicting layoff. Can we predict these things? Like, how do we know they coming before they come? How do we make sure to get a sign? Like, man, they didn't tell me nothing. People are like, oh, I woke up to an email. Oh, we just got put into this meeting unexpectedly and there were hidden invites on the meeting. No. They were indicators long before that. So I definitely went and hit on how you can predict that a layoff is going to happen. And then, so many people got confused with hiring freezes and layoffs. People thought they automatically came simultaneously. People thought that, oh, they laid us off and then went into this hiring freeze. Honey, we dived into the differences between and similarities of a hiring freeze and a layoff. And so now we're going to end this thing. We got one more video, which is today, and then we're going to do another one. So if you're not already subscribed, set your alerts, hit the damn bell, because we're going to talk about these layoffs just a tad bit more. And on this video today, we're going to talk all about how HR is involved in layoffs. Our next video that we'll go into is going to be all about rehiring after layoffs. So if you guys want to know, what HR doing these layoffs? Or is it true that they're just backstabbing us and hidden and we don't know what's going on? Then you definitely want to keep watching. HR is normally either the first or second to know or get confirmation that a layoff is happening. Now, HR normally isn't the folks who determine the layoffs. They're not the ones that set all the rules for them, but they really provide a lot of information that helps us outline, lay out, make a plan for layoffs. The biggest difference that I'll tell you for sure is that it depends on what your company thinks of HR. If they think of HR as a strategic person in their organization, layoffs is going to be something that HR knows ahead of time, is going to be preparing for, looking at the best options for, looking at what optics may look like after it happens, during it happens, and really going to a good preparation for layoffs. Now, if HR isn't really seen as that strategic partner, in my opinion, and this might be biased, I feel like layoffs don't go as smooth. I feel like that's when you get folks that get these emails that they've been laid off. I feel like that's when you get the folks who are out on leave that find out while they're out on leave that they're laid off. That's when equipment is confused, the systems aren't updated, org charts aren't updated, duties aren't handed over. Like, I feel like when HR is not involved, a lot of that stuff goes unnoticed, in my opinion. But it's just me. Just Tamika giving you my opinion. HR is in constant communication with the employment law attorneys that the company may have designated as their employment law attorney, or a firm, or your in-house attorney. But HR and those attorneys, or that attorney, is constantly in communication. People see HR as like the police. oh, they want to be attorneys. When in actuality, we don't want to be attorneys. So we just call the employment law attorney and that's who tells us what to do. It's just that we're the messenger. So it comes off that way. But it's super duper important to always have your employment law attorney with you because there's just so many different legalities that happens. And so when HR and attorneys, the employment law attorneys get together, most times they review potential risks that the company may have. And that's primarily on like the employment side or potential litigation or things of that nature. And so they'll create strategies for those risks. So if we're going to let these people go, these are the things we need to prepare for them. Maybe we should look at giving this instead of that. Maybe we should make sure to have this person involved in this layoff, things like that. So HR and the employment law attorneys get together for those things. The employment law attorney confirms, okay, these are all of our risks. Now let's get going. Come back to me when you need to. Most times they can give us templates. A lot of times HR already has templates, but HR will prepare all of those legal docs. HR will prepare your severance agreement, protected class agreements, termination letter, your benefits information, and then we'll also prepare like the verbiage for it all. But at the end of the day, we don't normally handle any of that single-handedly, at least not initially, particularly if it's our first time. We have the employment law attorney bless it. So they go through and make sure we got the right verbiage, the right terms, the right information, that we're getting the right deadlines before we just execute that to employees. And then a lot of things that we'll also do is we'll gather the data for attorneys. Maybe they want to know who all are in these protected classes, who all are at this age, who all have been employed for this period of time, who all are in this region. So we'll pull that information together so that we'll know exactly what all legal information we need to prepare before we lay folks off. Because even though it looks like folks are laid off immediately, honestly, there are some countries, some regions, some states that have, or even federally, there's some federal regulations that make us like pause. Like we have to give this person X period of time. Yeah, their last day working might be this, but we might not formally terminate them until whatever date. So we get with the employment law attorneys on those too. So the next thing I kind of already talked about is that we prepare, or HR prepares and gathers all documentation. So that would be the separation letters. That's your benefits information. Who are the contact people for your benefits? What benefits do you have? What are the ones that you need to get immediately? What are the ones that you can let sit there? What are the ones that you may need to transfer to someone else? What are the ones that go with you? What are the ones that stay with the company? And then we'll also get partner with IT on equipment. So we'll know like, okay, this person lives in this area. They have this equipment, so it needs to be procured here. Or this person has not been using our computer, so no need to worry. So we kind of partner with IT on that, and IT really leads us on that, but we do the communication. So IT is handling all of the actual equipment, but typically HR is the one that's saying, okay, so you're going to return your equipment this day, you're going to mail it here, you're going to look for FedEx, you're going to look for UPS. Like we go through all of those things on behalf of IT, but we've already partnered with IT to make sure that we're facilitating that the right way. And then another thing is that HR will gather whatever docs from the attorney. So now that we've already created these severance agreements, we've already created these separation docs, we've already created whatever protection, typically it's like an age protection, separation documentation, then we make sure that the attorney's okay with it. We make sure that we literally have the right employee name, the right date, the right age, the right amounts, and then we formalize that out. And so another thing is that we would automatically either partner the employee with whatever third parties we have, or we would have that third party reach out to those employees. So obviously the tech layoff is a lot different from the automobile layoffs or the medical layoffs or the plant layoffs. And so they've been moving really, really fast and leaving that burden on the employee. But some layoffs that happen over time at an organization or happen at a really slower pace or a smaller organization, typically what we'll do is have that third party partner with that employee versus the employee just getting the contact information and reaching out to them. Typically the biggest thing is COBRA. What are we doing about COBRA? Are we just acknowledging the minimum requirements of COBRA? Are we adding anything to COBRA? But it can also be any other documentation that may take a while to come back as well. Now, I don't want you all to get excited and think, man, HR doing all of this when it comes to layoff. No, not all the time your entire HR department is involved with the layoff. Typically, those people who are seen as strategic partners within the HR department. So it can very well be that your HR leader handles it all and you don't even realize your company's having a layoff until the day of or the next day, where the rest of the HR team has no clue, and the HR leader, the director, the VP, the chief human resources officer, they may handle it all like by themselves with an attorney, with IT, and not have you involved at all. It may be where you have like a VP or a chief human resources officer, but then you also have like a director. You may also have an HR business partner, and then those strategic people are involved, but not necessarily an HR assistant, not necessarily an HR coordinator. Like those people aren't involved in the layoffs, or at least for like, and I can't say involved because most times the whole HR is involved unless HR is being laid off themselves. In actuality, I'll say in that employee facing part of the layoff or the preparation part of the layoff. So typically it's like, okay, we don't need the coordinators until we've already planned for it, executed, and now we just need them to help us like administer the paperwork or what have you. Now you guys know I've talked about this already in a previous video, and I believe that was Layoff Trends, where I talked about the fact that these tech layoffs aren't new. I mean, we've heard the airlines doing layoffs, right? It wasn't just because of COVID. They've done layoffs in the past. We've also had manufacturing do layoffs. Those cars a long time ago, they did mass layoffs. We also have the healthcare. They kind of do them on a regular basis. We also have manufacturers. They'll do layoffs as well. And so the tech industry is just another industry that's being affected by these layoffs. Y'all, I'm gonna be honest with you. Economy tells us a lot about like, okay, who may be in a predicament. And economy has kind of already trended this, and still kind of, we can look at the economy to see how things are going. Are a lot of people still investing in technology, or a lot of companies not really making money based on technology? Are a lot of companies being affected in other areas where technology isn't a priority? So there's so many different factors there about layoffs, because layoffs just isn't like something that's a one and done thing. It totally can happen to, in my opinion, any industry. That's just my opinion. I just don't know who's immune from them. Every industry that's been affected, we use it heavily, particularly in the US. So I'm like, ain't nobody protected in my opinion. I just wanted to end this by reminding us that HR is a little bit different in this situation. And it really hurts my heart when I see people bash HR and say, oh, HR did this to me, HR did that. I can promise you HR didn't make those decisions, honey. Like, they just didn't. Honestly, the HR department is a department that most companies look at is not ever generating finances. Like, we're never generating revenue for the company in the eyes of most companies. Yeah, we do generate it by making sure to keep people happy and keep them working, but people don't look at that as a direct revenue generating department. Typically, they look at like something like sales or what have you, because those people are solidifying deals that's literally bringing checks into the company, and HR just isn't that way. And maybe I just have a soft heart for HR because I work in HR, but I've worked in it so long that I really am giving you information from a good space. But I also want you to know too, HR just isn't HR everywhere. Everybody isn't the same. HR, we are people too, and we operate a little bit differently wherever you may find us. You know, I've told you guys several times that I'm not your traditional HR, and I think that's why I've had some bumps and bruises in my career, because I'm not going to never not think of people as people, and I'm never not going to be transparent. So anyhow, how we get there? Like, anyhow, we have talked all about how HR is involved with layoffs. If you guys have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments and I'll meet you there. If you are new to my channel, then I thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you found some type of value, that you decided, you know what, I'm gonna stick around and I'm gonna subscribe. For those of you who are returning, I thank you so much for returning. I thank you so much for being such a great supporter. At the end of the day, I can't wait to see all of y'all on the next video.